Welcome to the Wealthfinity channel. In this video, we will be discussing the latest strategies and techniques for building and growing your wealth. Whether you're just starting out on your financial journey or looking to take your investments to the next level, this video will provide valuable insights and actionable tips to help you achieve your financial goals. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn how to unlock the full potential of your money and achieve true financial freedom. Let's get started. The Middle East is home to some of the wealthiest nations in the world. These nations have built their wealth on the back of their vast oil reserves and have used this wealth to invest in other areas such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare. In this video, we will take a look at the wealthiest nations in the Middle East and what has contributed to their wealth. Here are the top 5 richest Middle Eastern countries compared. 1. Qatar, $170 billion. Qatar is the wealthiest nation in the Middle East and one of the wealthiest in the world. The country has the highest GDP per capita in the world, thanks to its vast oil and natural gas reserves. Qatar has also invested heavily in other areas such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare, which has helped to diversify its economy and make it less dependent on oil. With a GDP of $170 billion and a GDP per capita of $61,147, Qatar tops the list as the wealthiest country in the Middle East. The small Gulf state has one of the highest standards of living in the world, and its economy is heavily dependent on its vast reserves of oil and natural gas. 2. United Arab Emirates, $397 billion. The United Arab Emirates, UAE, is another wealthy nation in the Middle East. The country has the second highest GDP per capita in the region and is home to some of the wealthiest cities in the world, such as Dubai and Abu Dhabi. The UAE's wealth is primarily built on its vast oil reserves, but the country has also invested heavily in other areas such as tourism, real estate, and finance. The UAE comes in second place with a GDP of $397 billion and a GDP per capita of $40,946. The country has a diversified economy and is home to some of the most iconic skyscrapers and luxurious developments in the world. 3. Saudi Arabia, $735 billion. Saudi Arabia is the largest oil producer in the world and has used its wealth to invest in other areas such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare. The country has the third highest GDP per capita in the Middle East and is home to some of the wealthiest people in the region. With a GDP of $735 billion and a GDP per capita of $19,147, Saudi Arabia is the largest economy in the Middle East. The country's economy is heavily dependent on its vast oil reserves and it is the world's largest exporter of oil. 4. Kuwait, $114 billion. Kuwait is another wealthy nation in the Middle East with a high GDP per capita. The country has a strong economy that is built on oil exports, but it has also invested in other areas such as finance and real estate. Kuwait has a GDP of $114 billion and a GDP per capita of $39,766. The country's economy is also heavily dependent on its oil reserves, but it also has a diversified economy that includes a strong banking sector. 5. Bahrain, $32 billion. Bahrain rounds out the top 5 with a GDP of $32 billion and a GDP per capita of $24,072. The country has a diversified economy that includes a strong financial sector, but it is also heavily dependent on its oil reserves. It is worth noting that these figures are based on the most recent data available and are subject to change. It is also worth noting that while these countries are considered to be the wealthiest in the Middle East, they are still relatively small players on the global economic stage. However, the wealth of these nations, as well as the potential for future growth, make them an important part of the global economy. One of the most notable aspects of the billionaire lifestyle in the Middle East is their love of real estate. Many of the region's richest individuals own multiple properties, including palaces, villas, and apartments in some of the most desirable locations around the world. In addition to their primary residences, many Middle Eastern billionaires also own vacation homes in exotic locations such as the Maldives, the Seychelles, and the French Riviera. The Middle Eastern billionaires also have a love for luxury fashion and high-end watches. They are known to wear designer brands such as Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and Hermes, and they often attend exclusive events such as the Cannes Film Festival and the Monaco Grand Prix. They also have a love for high-end watches, with many owning multiple timepieces from brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet. The Middle Eastern billionaires are also known for their charitable works. Many of them are actively involved in philanthropic endeavors, and they often donate large sums of money to charitable causes. This includes healthcare, education, and poverty reduction initiatives in the Middle East and around the world. The Middle East is home to some of the wealthiest nations in the world. These nations have built their wealth on the back of their vast oil reserves and have used this wealth to invest in other areas such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare. It is important for these nations to continue to diversify their economies to ensure that they are not overly dependent on oil. In conclusion, the Middle East is home to some of the wealthiest nations in the world. From the oil-rich nations of Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, to the technologically advanced nation of Israel, these countries have a lot to offer in terms of economic stability and growth. Each country has its own unique strengths and challenges, but all of them are making significant contributions to the global economy. We hope that this video has provided you with a better understanding of the economic landscape of the Middle East and the opportunities that it presents for investors and entrepreneurs. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.